Perfect. So, hello everyone. Welcome to another pre-law shadow session. My name is Christiane, and I'll be hosting the session today. I am very pleased to have Stephanie here to talk a little bit about her legal career and her journey to becoming a lawyer. I guess we can just start. Just to introduce myself, once again, my name is Christiane. I'm a fourth-year student at the University of Toronto. I'm graduating soon, 2 months. I'm so excited. I'm majoring in political science, and I'm doing a double minor in international development studies and public law. I do have aspirations into becoming a lawyer. I am thinking of going to law school in the very near future, and hopefully running my LSAT this summer. So super excited. And yeah, without further ado, Stephanie, if you just want to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy that you reached out to me. My name is Stephanie Brooks. I recently got called to the bar in Ontario in November 2022. So I'm officially, transitioned, and I'm an associate lawyer at a family law firm in the GTA area. So yeah, like I said, very excited to be here. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Sounds good. So we'll just start off with a bunch of I guess, background questions. And first of all, I was reading a little bit of your bio, and you said you had a fascination for law and justice from the age of 7. And I think that's absolutely crazy, because I could not even imagine myself at that age knowing how to spell lawyer, let alone, knowing what they do and their career and whatnot. So I just wanted to know a little bit about that fascination and what kind of sparked that motivation to go into the legal profession. Was it an experience you had? Did you know someone who's a lawyer in your family that kind of inspired you? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so I have to give a big shout out to my parents. They religiously watched Law and Order when I was a baby. I instantly knew when the theme song came on. So I think my fascination started with the television aspect of law. And then I was in, I don't even know what grade I was in. I was around 7, 6, 7, 8. And we had career day. And one of my classmates, his father was actually a Crown prosecutor. And he came in, spoke a little bit about what he did, obviously a very fluffed up version. Apparently, according to my mom, I came home that day and I said, I want to be a lawyer. That's what I want to do. And I know a lot of people don't have that path growing up. A lot of people, don't know what they want to do when they grow up. And that's super normal. I feel like I was the oddball in my friend group, that I always had a direct path. And I always knew I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to be a lawyer. And yeah, I somehow stuck to it, and here I am.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I could definitely relate to that. My family always had Judge Judy on.
She was my idol when I was in high school.
Yeah,
I thought she was the coolest person ever.
I still think she is. And yeah, no, I also knew that I wanted to be a lawyer from a very kind of young age. I think it was in grade 4, we were writing a persuasive essay, and I chose why I think we should get a dog. And I still don't have a dog, funny enough, but I wrote a letter to my parents about that, and my teacher was like, this is super persuasive, you're really good at arguing, I think you should be a lawyer. And I didn't know what that meant, so I remember going home that day and searching it up and doing a little bit of research, grade 4 me, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. And here I am, 4th year university, planning on hopefully going to law school. So I do relate to the fact that we both wanted, that's something that we thought we wanted to do when we were very young.
Yeah.
So I know you graduated from Queen's University, and that's an amazing school. A lot of my friends are actually there for nursing. I know they have an amazing nursing program, but I was wondering what you majored in, if there was any specific courses that you took that you think might have benefited you when you went to law school. So just a little bit about your undergrad experience.
Of course. Yeah. So when I went to undergrad, I knew that law school was always the end game. So I contemplated, well, do I go for commerce? Do I go for, political sciences? Do I go for sociology? So I went into my first year of undergrad very open. I thought I actually wanted to major in global development. I am terrible at languages, and you needed to take languages in first year and all throughout your degree. So I was very turned away from global development after first year. And I do have a creative side to me, and media and film just sort of spoke to me. So I pursued my undergrad in film and media. I tried to undergrad or minor in sociology, but a lot of the core requirements conflicted. So I had to drop my minor and just stuck with the film and media. But it actually, I think for me, benefited because I was able to express my creativity. I was able to, work really hard and get really good grades so that when it came to law school, I wasn't struggling. I wasn't deflated. I was able to build myself up a lot so that I could set myself on a good path when it came time to law school. So
That's
you can major in anything. My mom's cousin, she's a Crown prosecutor, I believe in Calgary, and her undergrad was in physical education or kinesiology. Your undergrad doesn't have to be law specific. I did take a few law classes. I took a few sociology classes. Those little pieces here and there will help build your skills up so that when you get to law school, you have research skills and writing skills. But in terms of, we don't have a pre-law, or we don't have many pre-law undergrads. So that's sort of the route that I took.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important to remember. And like I said, when I was in high school, I didn't even know that. I thought that, your undergrad had to be law specific or something that's kind of along the same lines, like politics, something within like the humanities. I didn't think science would set you up so well or something. Like I was even contemplating on taking theater because like I'm a huge theater nerd.
I
But
was such a drama queen. A lot of my friends and my family will still say that I am.
yeah,
So.
no, me too. So yeah, no, I was like, okay, I could never get involved in anything like that if I wanted to go to law school at the end. Um, but yeah, it's super important to remember that you can really do anything as long as it's something that you are interested in and you can excel at and get that high GPA for when you go to law school, then that's all that matters. So for the next question, I wanted to talk about law school itself. And I know you graduated from the University of Liverpool. Right off the bat, why did you decide to go to UK to study law? I know you don't have to write the LSAT, right? So maybe like
Yeah.
that's motivation.
Yeah, so that was a perk for sure.
For sure.
Um, I had the travel bug. I knew that, I wanted to eventually, I want to live in Canada permanently and in Ontario permanently. So why not take the opportunity while I'm still in my studies? I have the ability to go abroad. I was contemplating, Australia, the UK, because a lot of programs offered in those places you can easily convert to Canadian law. So there were a few UK universities that had a condensed or an accelerated program. So normally in the UK, I believe under like an undergrad, you can get in law, and then you continue on to either be a barrister or a solicitor. So a handful of universities have an LLB for graduates program. So if you have an undergraduate degree, you can apply to those programs and get your law degree in 2 years. So that was a great, selling point for me. 2 years in the UK, I can, travel to other countries. I can visit Croatia on a long weekend, or I could go see, my partner in Norway for a long weekend. So don't follow your boyfriend, but that was another selling point for me. He was over there, or he was returning home to there. But do what you want to do first. They can take a back seat and focus on yourself and your career. But sort of all of the pieces aligned to the UK for me. So that's sort of why I went abroad.
No, those are all really good reasons. And I think, just the whole like experience. If you're a travel junkie, why not? But I know there is a lot of controversy, surrounding law students, Canadian law students going to the UK to study law, because a lot of people believe that, sometimes they might think like I've heard people say those schools over there are not accredited.
Shortcut.
It's hard to, yeah, it's a shortcut. It's hard to find a job when you come back. I heard that you have to take like a couple extra tests that, in order for you to be able to practice law here after coming back from the UK. So like, what do you say in response to the argument that it's better to study law in Canada than to go to the UK?
I think it's very personal to the person. For me, I loved it. I don't think it hindered me in any way. I did have to, when I came back to Canada, I had to take the NCA exams. So there's going to be some core requirements that you have to take, and then some optional subjects you might have to take, either one or two or three, depending on what your UK law school transcripts, how they convert and how they kind of fall into place with the Canadian standards. So, but that was perfect for me because I was able to work full-time at a law firm while I was studying for my NCA exam. So not only was I getting, the real world experience, I also had a really great support system, and with a lot of the lawyers that at the firm that I'm working at now, and I built great relationships with everybody. And, it's very encouraging to have people on your side. Even if it's just somebody to talk to, somebody to keep you motivated, and to sort of see the finish line. Like, you can do this. This is hard. We get it, but it's temporary. And once you're there, you're there. So I think there's pros and cons to both. I think it worked out for me. I don't think it's a bad choice, but I'm a little biased, but
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're definitely not the first lawyer that I talked to who went to study law in the UK. So, you guys are all living examples that it's not like it's a bad path to go to. It's not like you're not, you can't come back here and study at a very good law firm. But one question that I have is how did you make those connections? Because I know a lot of the times, people who study law school here, they kind of make those connections as they're in Canadian law school. And then when they come out of law school, especially after, articling, a lot of the times, they have those connections, they built those relationships with the people during law school, and it's easier for them to find a job at a law firm. So it's like, how did you make those connections while you were away in the UK?
yeah. So before I even accepted which law school I wanted to go in the UK, so I just graduated, or I was in my last few months of fourth year. I just emailed a bunch of law firms in my area, introduced myself, explained I'm about to attend law school. And if you need an extra set of hands in your office, even if it's just answering phone calls, making photocopies, whatever you need, I would love to assist and just sort of immerse myself into a law firm to see what the culture is like, to sort of feel, the energy inside of a law firm, to sort of set myself up for like what to expect later down the road. And the firm that I'm at now, Russell Alexander Collaborative Family Lawyers, Russ responded to me, said, "No way, what law school are you going to?" And we sort of started a dialogue, and he said, "Come in, let's have a chat." And I went in, had an interview. They said, "We would love to take you on as a summer student." And so in between all of my law school years, I would go back to the firm. I started on the phones. You work your way up. They gave me opportunities to shadow some of the law clerks. So I got to see that sort of side of the process and the job. And I continued on there as an articling student. So don't be afraid to make connections really early on. And don't be afraid to stay in touch with those connections. Keep reaching out, keep checking in, because connections can help ease the process for sure.
Yeah, I think it's super important. A lot of the times I hear is it's who you know, which is really true in a way. But yeah, connections are very, very important, and making them early on can definitely set you up for the future. So let's talk about your specific fields. I know your practice focuses on family law, which is something I'm actually particularly interested in. So I wanted to ask what kind of drew you to this type of work in these cases. I know it can be quite daunting. You know, these cases aren't easy. I've definitely heard some horror stories from family lawyers on here. So yeah, what drew you to family law?
Uh, I I think working at the firm that I'm at solidified that this is the area that I want to continue in. I didn't really know before I went to law school if I wanted to do criminal, if I wanted to do corporate. I really didn't know. So working at a family law firm, it opened my eyes to what is involved in that sort of area. And then in law school, I took family law courses, and that sort of just solidified this is for me. So there's good and bad, of course. You have to realize that you're going to meet clients at some of the lowest of low points in their lives. So I think if you're an empathetic person, if you truly care about people, you're going to find this area can be challenging but very rewarding. Uh, Sometimes it comes home with you. You know, sometimes it can't, you can't get it out of your head. But knowing that you're there to support that person going through that hard time, it makes it worth it. And there's also, the litigation side, which can be difficult. It can be a lot of pressure, but there's also the collaborative side. So my firm, we do a lot of collaborative family practice. So that's when you really want to get parties to agree to a settlement. You want them to, focus on the children or the family unit and what's best for the family, even though you're parting ways. So you have areas of law that are solely in the courtroom or solely negotiations. Family law, you can have a little bit of both. And I think my personality it suits me. And yeah, that's sort of why I stuck with it and why I'm really excited that I'm, fully starting my career in family law.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I really like the whole little bit of both, but at the same time, it is very personal. Criminal lawyers that come on here just to say, they love arguing and they like being in the courtroom setting. And, there's other lawyers that just do kind of work behind the scenes. They don't like kind of being in the courtroom. So it's really just who you are and what you prefer. But in the end, I think if you're a lawyer, you're gonna feel, I don't know, I feel like you feel rewarded. It doesn't really matter what kind of area of law you're focusing on or what you work in. In the end, I think it's such a rewarding job in itself. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to the legal field and to the profession, because I know that through my work, I'm going to feel so good about myself, knowing that I'm helping, an entity or a party or an individual family, So yeah, I think in the end, it's really, really good.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know this question might be a little bit hard to answer. A lot of the times it is, because it's just every day is different when you're a lawyer. But if you can kind of like generalize it, what is a typical day in your career like in terms of responsibilities and tasks? And of course, this answer could also include things you kind of do at home or in your free time in order to balance the workload with personal life.
Yeah, it definitely is a very hard question, because every day will be different, every client will be different, every, fact scenario that comes across your desk will be different. Um, Sometimes there's court involved, sometimes there's not. So, sorry, someone's outside my house. Yeah, odd. Uh, but yeah, so we have, team meetings every week, which I really appreciate about my firm, especially being a hybrid office. We have people at home, people in office, or you can choose to go in if you want to. So we have team meetings every Tuesday, which is really nice. Sometimes it's managing clients' expectations. You have a phone call with the client. Sometimes it's emailing opposing counsel, trying to figure out if you can come to some sort of agreement or settlement for your client and theirs. It's very varied. So never a dull moment as a lawyer, that's for sure. Always on your toes.
For sure. And how do you balance that, all that workload with your personal life? I know you love traveling, and you can't stand the cold. I can't either. I lived in Ontario literally my whole life. Um, yeah, no, I hate it. But yeah,
Yeah.
how do you balance that?
Yeah. So because I've only been called since 2022, trying to work in traveling while working full time can get difficult. The benefit of every firm might be different. Your firm might be you have a target billable hours. Sometimes you get commission off of how many hours you or like the percentage of your billables. So it sometimes you have flexibility and sometimes you don't, depending on the firm that you're at. So it's sort of trying to balance how can I ensure that I am, meeting my personal goals of what I want to do and making sure that I'm, meeting all my responsibilities for my clients. That sort of has taken a priority for me because I am so early on in my career. I really wanted to like go in guns blazing, try to like really set myself up for success down the road. Of course, if an opportunity comes where I can go and travel, I hope to take it. But when it comes to outside of office hours, I like to relax. I like to be active. I like to try to get my mind as far away from law as possible. Will sometimes watch the occasional crime drama or some sort of legal drama just for fun. But I really try to make sure that sort of part of my brain gets a bit of rest, just to make sure I keep myself on the right track when I get to work.
I think that's really important. There definitely needs to be a balance. And I've been trying to tell myself that ever since like high school. I'm such a perfectionist, and like I'm always so focused on work, and it gives me anxiety because it's like if I want to be a lawyer, I also want to have time to spend with my family and doing the things that I want. And of course my work is going to be important, but I always have this fear that the workload is just going to consume me and that's all I'm going to care about. So I think it's really important to keep on reminding ourselves that we do need that rest. We do need to take the breather. Yeah.
You don't
And
want to burn yourself out too quick. And
exactly.
a lot of the senior associates at my firm like really highlight that. You
Mhm.
you don't want, because it's not beneficial for you, it's not beneficial for your work if you're burnt out. So it is important to take time for yourself and to recognize, I feel like I'm really wearing myself thin right now. I just need to take an afternoon, take a weekend, really just like recover and then come back stronger.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's necessary. Your work will reflect that as well. Like if you're so burnt out, then you won't be able to put in that effort to your work. So if you take that weekend or afternoon, like you said, to relax, then you'll come back stronger, and your work will definitely reflect that. And then speaking of like crime dramas and stuff, what is like one misconception that you think people have about lawyers? Because every time I, talk to the average person about being a lawyer and, what they think a lawyer is about, they'll say like, lawyers think, they're all that and they only really do this for the money. Obviously if they watch all these crime dramas and stuff, then they'll definitely get those misconceptions. But what is one misconception that you think a lot of people have about the legal profession?
Yeah, I don't know why a lot of people think lawyers are sneaky,
Yeah.
like trying to I disagree with that. All of the lawyers I've, come in contact with, even opposing counsel, when you're representing two different sides, more often than not, they're very, very friendly people, very honest people, and, a lot of their goals are to work with integrity. So I think being sneaky is a huge misconception of lawyers.
Mhm.
Of course, there's always a bad one, but we're not all bad.
Yeah, no, definitely not. All the lawyers that I've spoken to have been absolutely amazing. They've been genuine. They've offered all of the best advice that they can. Even though I'm not in the profession yet, I haven't met one bad lawyer either. So, and then my next question is, we're kind of nearing the end. Are there any cases that kind of stood out to you the most? I know it would be great, like if you could discuss kind of an example of a case you dealt with, but obviously if you have to keep it confidential for whatever reason, like we completely understand that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's hard to discuss cases. Of course, you can use, very general terms.
Yeah.
For me, I haven't yet because I'm so early on in my career. I know my firm has had some incredible, incredible cases. One of the senior associates at my firm, he actually had a case go to the Court of Appeal.
Mhm.
It was really interesting to sit down with him and to discuss it. So any opportunity that you can to speak with lawyers about their career, I do think lawyers do like to talk a lot. That is one thing that might be true.
Yeah,
So if they have the time and they're willing to talk to you about their career and, their struggles and their successes, definitely take those opportunities. I wish I had one to tell you. I'm still very early, so not yet, but maybe soon.
for sure. And yeah, that's why I do this thing, because I love talking to lawyers and hearing about the different working cases that they take on. But speaking of the fact that you're very early on in your career, and I know you were called to the bar 2022, so just last year, what is something you know now that you kind of wish you knew before? Like if you were to go back in time and talk to your younger self, whether that be the person in law school or the person in undergrad or the 7-year-old, what advice would you give her?
Yeah, that's tough because I I'm someone who believes, things happen for a reason.
Me too.
I think that if I didn't make the decisions that I did back then, I may not be where I am now.
Mhm.
Um, I think I stressed myself out a lot more than I needed to. I think I was very hard on myself,
Yeah.
especially through the bar process and the licensing process. It can be very overwhelming and very stressful, even through the NCA process. And loss, like you will run into stress. You will. So I think taking it easy on yourself, giving yourself a bit of a break, and acknowledging that you're doing great. As long as you're doing the best you can, you don't want to overwork yourself. You don't want to sort of put yourself down. I think because law school, if you're in the Canadian law school system, it can be very competitive. And that's something that I did like about the UK. You have more support within your friends rather than you're competing against them. Um, but I think I shouldn't have been so hard on myself. I should have trusted myself a little bit more and trusted my abilities. So that's what I would have sort of told my younger self.
Yeah, I think, trusting yourself and your abilities is super important, especially when you go to law school. I know a lot of the lawyers that come on here, and I have a feeling that I'm probably going to be experiencing the same thing. They go through imposter syndrome, kind of thinking that you don't deserve to be there. Everyone else is kind of better than you. I don't know if that's something that you dealt with when you went to law school, and how did you deal with the stress that came with law school?
I had a good support system.
Mhm.
My parents are always supportive. My boyfriend was always supportive. My friends were always supportive. So I think surrounding myself with people who really understood what my goal was and helped me stay on track for it. I still feel imposter syndrome right now. I'm the youngest at my firm in terms of the associates. Um, I didn't think it through when I would be calling myself a lawyer at 25. I still feel very young. I still feel like I'm not ready, but at the same time, I know I am. So it's sort of that battle within yourself. And I had to keep reminding myself everybody was in my shoes at one point. All the senior associates at my firm were a first year lawyer. All of the judges that I'm going to go before were a first year lawyer at one point. So I think continuing to tell myself that everyone was in my shoes at one point, you find comfort in that, and that's sort of what's kept me mentally ready to keep going. And understanding that I shouldn't feel this imposter syndrome. I worked hard, I'm here, I feel confident, and I should continue to feel confident.
For sure. I mean, going through law school is not easy. Even undergrad, it's not easy. And so I think definitely reminding ourselves that we worked hard for this. It's always important. And a lawyer at 25, I mean, I knew you were young, but like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Congratulations, that's insane. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think having other people to talk about it with helps.
Mhm.
Even people that I may have lost touch with in university or in my undergrad, I didn't know that he was going off to law school. We went completely separate directions.
Mhm.
We're both studying for the bar together. And we're like, well, let's share notes, let's talk about it. And then sort of being able to confide in somebody who's going through the same thing as you, it's also very, very helpful, because I know I'm feeling this way, but now that I know you're feeling this way too,
Is that
I
right?
feel, I feel normal. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm okay.
Mhm. For sure. I'm always like reaching out to my friends for reassurance. Having that support system is super helpful. And that's one of, especially during the pandemic, because, getting through university and undergrad at home when it was really hard to connect with people was a challenge in itself. And I'm so thankful that, I had one of these to connect with my friends, or else it would have been very, very challenging. But yeah, support system will definitely get you very far. And then my last question is that I know many of us are heading in the direction of becoming lawyers, and I know this can be very exciting, could be very worrisome though. I mean, I know I'm having a lot of anxiety and about it, and sometimes I'm doubting myself, can I do this? Can I not? Is this the right path for me? Um, so if you were to give one piece of advice to the next generation of, aspiring legal professionals who want to follow in your footsteps, whether that be, going into family law or pursuing law school in the UK, what kind of advice would you give?
That's always such a hard question.
I know.
One thing, um,
It could be more than one thing.
yeah, I really think that trusting yourself and listening to yourself is important. Of
Mhm.
course, I always try to be better, be the best version of myself, whether it's in my profession or outside of my profession. I think if you have that goal and you continue to set yourself up for success, even with the small things, building connections, reaching out, putting yourself out there, joining Facebook groups that, you know, kind of bring together community, and you have people going through the same thing as you. If you enjoy reading case law, that might be great for you, and it might help you later down the road. So I think just finding little things that you still enjoy doing can help in the long run.
Mhm.
And even though you need to trust yourself, you can push yourself a little bit. It is going to be challenging, but you can do it. And so I think just keeping that motivation up, or finding something to keep that motivation up, is really helpful as well.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, trusting yourself is definitely something everyone should remind themselves of, like we kind of talked about, trusting yourself and also trusting your abilities. Yeah, and I think the one of the um pieces of advice that kind of stuck out most to me is people always tell me if it doesn't work out, then trust yourself that you can get back up on your feet and try it again. Law school is definitely, and being a lawyer is definitely not a kind of linear journey. It,
Exactly.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of twists and turns. And like you said, it's going to be very, very challenging. But I think trusting yourself and your ability to get through all of the hurdles that come your way and when you become a lawyer, and just focusing on kind of like that end goal, I think that's super important. Yeah. So I think that's it for today. Stephanie, I'd like to thank you so much for being here and talking about your career as a lawyer and your journey into the legal field. It was all very insightful, and Pre-Law Shadowers is very, very grateful to have you here with us and to give up some time out of your probably very busy schedule to be here. Thanks for everyone who is watching, and stay tuned for the next session. I hope you guys enjoyed the session as much as I enjoyed hosting it. So thank you so much, Stephanie, and good luck in all your future endeavors. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and good luck to everybody watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.